everyone, welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast. I'm your host, David Morse, CEO and team leader of Keller Williams Arizona Realty in Scottsdale, with my co-hosts, my guy, Joe Quattrucci, the CEO and founder of PC Expansion. And today, our guest is none other than one of our agents here locally, one of our leaders, one of our best, Nicci Violette. Nicci, how's it going?
Good.
Welcome to the show. We
Absolutely.
Appreciate having you.
Yeah.
Get us kind of started. Kind of give us like a high-level overview of what it is that you do in real estate.
Well, I service my own clients. I still enjoy doing that. I'm actually probably one of the few agents that'll say I love taking buyers out. I actually enjoy it and have fun doing that. But I also have a team. My team's a little bit different in that they all have their brands under our brand, our main brand. So they're allowed to do their own listings, their own buyers, and then I have a marketing person. She's phenomenal. She helps us out. And I really kind of focus on mentoring. That's where I want to go, coaching and teaching and stuff like that. So that's kind of how our team operates. I'm more of a mentor instead of a rainmaker, I guess.
Yeah, awesome. Well, take us back a little bit. I have the privilege of knowing your business a little over the last year, diving into it with you. And I know that you do take that mentorship approach. Bring us back, though, before real estate and kind of what you were doing before and why you got into real estate in the first place.
So I'm actually from the software world. Total geek, and worked for a couple of really cool companies. Had my son back in 2000 and just was working from home, building websites kind of on the side. And my sister, it's all her fault. She said, I found this awesome house in this new build area in Colorado, and let's go look at it. I bought it. I put off money on a house, and I went and looked, and I fell in love, and I go, I'm going to live down the street from you. So I went in and we filled out all of our stuff, and they called us up, and because I had quit working and was just kind of getting paid on the side, our debt to income ratio was off, which I didn't even know what that was. Yep. And so they said, here's the deal. It's going to take us 6 months to build your house. Come work for us in the office in the neighborhood you're going to live in. We need someone. We'll pay you $15 an hour, $300 a home. You don't have to have a license in Colorado to do this. Just come and work, and then the day after you close, if you don't like it, you can quit. So, all right, well, whatever. Why not? I only had one kid at the time.
Yeah.
I did it. I loved it. And I attribute that to why I'm so good at open houses, because basically someone walks in and I have to sell you one of 9 houses. It's not like, if you leave, I can
we
go
have
show
7,000
you.
to choose
Yeah,
from.
we can choose.
Right.
Yeah, like I have to convince you on this, and then try to take them out and help them envision their house on a piece of dirt. That's really fun too.
Well, so we haven't talked to a lot of new home salespeople, and so talk to me a little bit more about that. Like, what did you love most about that environment when you were in it?
For me, because I couldn't write contracts, it was just being Vanna White. Here's your lovely house, and picking colors. I stage houses. I love staging houses. I love decorating, and so that's a fundamental kind of part of it. Like, hey, let's sit down. If it's a brand new build and it's not a spec home, what do you want this to look like? They do the design center, but we still pick out, your colors and, what kind of elevation you want. And, even on some of them, which way do you want to face? If it's a corner lot, like there was a lot of leeway back then. So, it's just fun to see these people, and they would come back every single weekend. It was, checking on the status of their house and stuff, and I was also in a kind of first-time home buyer. I think our price ranges back then were like $175, so it was a lot of just making first-time home buyers happy, which I just think it's so fun. So,
do you feel like the fact that you started off in like the Vanna White, so to speak, presentation style of these new home builds, did that make it easier for you to transition into like talking to people and lead generation? Do you think that would have been a bigger challenge had you just started off the traditional way of prospecting for new leads?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, I kind of came in and I joined Rich's team, and it was like, here you go do an open house this weekend. And it was like, all right, cool. And I'd done a couple and shadowed some people, but it definitely made it easier. The questions to ask. And when I was doing the new homes, they did a lot of training on, how do you show a home, and how you don't walk in first. You have them walk in, don't fill the space, things like that.
Yeah.
And back then it wasn't for safety. It was so they didn't feel like the bedroom was crowded or whatever. And now it's like, don't go in first because of safety. But yeah, I think it definitely helped me. And then just talking to people. I don't mind talking to people. I like it. So,
So how long were you in new home sales then?
Not very long, maybe 3 or 4 years. So yeah, my 6 months was up, and I was like, oh my gosh, no, I'm gonna stay. And it worked out. It worked out with our schedules and with my son's schedule. So I did it for a while, and I got to where I was. So I was the person that would go and set up shop in the trailers, and then so I had to sell you a home on blueprints. I didn't even have a house to show you, and I did really well with that. So they started just moving me from development to development. So that was kind of fun, very different, because then I have even less. I don't even have a house to show you, and we did well. So.
Well, I think that has to force you to become better with the language of sales that you're using, and prescribing the right words when you're selling.
Well, yeah, not everybody has vision. And so trying to give them the vision of this amazing dream home when on a piece of paper, it's super tight. It's hard when you walk in and it's all pink on paint and you go, oh, you can paint it. Even then they can't really envision it,
right.
But give them a home on a paper. It's super.
So you're doing well with this home builder. You're kind of jumping around and working your way up.
Yeah.
What caused you to decide to say, I want to go full-time all in real estate?
I didn't. We did that and then had to move back down here to Arizona, which is where I really love anyways. I don't do snow and cold and all that well. So
us either.
Yeah. So I came back down here, and this is where the software guys that I worked for are based. So I just went back to work for them. One of my friends was a realtor and said, hey, would you build me a site? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And, kind of did it and went, wow, I kind of like it. And every Saturday morning for years, my youngest and I get up, we're early risers, 6 a.m., 5 a.m., especially in the summer. We go get Starbucks, and we drive around Fountain Hills and just look at doors. Just doors.
Just doors.
Just doors. If you look at the houses in Fountain Hills, we have, so 80% of it is custom or semi-custom homes. It's not track homes, and so we have a few of those. But if you really just look at, like, cool doors. And so we just started doing that, and then my friend said, you should do this. And I was on the Little League board with Rich Barker, and he's, I was kind of asking him, and I don't know, the company I was working for got bought out. We all got a little piece of money. I had a little bit of a cushion, and, Rich is like, listen, you should try it, and I kind of just did. I don't know that I made the decision. I kind of just had some time, and I liked it, but I didn't want to go back to new homes. I liked the idea. The problem with that was every Saturday and Sunday. And now at this point, now I have 5 kids. So now it's not just one little guy I'm wrangling. Yeah. I now have 5. So I needed the flexibility, although people say that all the time. Oh, I did real estate for flexibility. There's nothing flexible about somebody calling you at 6 o'clock at night when you're
exactly.
Doing dinner and you have to leave the house to go show a house. There's nothing. The next person that tells me they joined it for flexibility, I'm just...
Yeah, we call it the F words of real estate.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, yeah. Flexibility, financial gain, freedom, all of those things which are possible eventually, but after you are completely the opposite of that while it's being built, right?
Yeah.
David, what I find interesting is how many people we talk to who didn't have necessarily a premeditated plan to become a real estate professional. And I'm wondering what you guys make of that, because like your story, Nicci, we hear from so many high-performing agents that sort of, through a series of serendipitous events ended up in real estate, much like your story. And I'm just wondering what you guys make of that. How does that happen? I don't, you know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know if I have something off the top of my head other than to say I think a lot of us do, just through continued exposure to real estate, have some recognition that there is a beauty to real estate, whether it be wealth building or owning your own business, that I think becomes attractive. And whether it's a positive or a negative, especially where we're at here in Arizona, like, it's very easy, low bar to get into it. And so I think I think a lot of people probably have aspirations to own a restaurant or something like that. But that takes a lot more overhead and capital to get into that business. So I guess that's where I would put it. I mean, any other thoughts?
I think it's that. I also think some of them just kind of, for those real estate F words, think they're going to have that, and so they do it, find out it's not really that easy. However, if done right and if done efficient, you can have some of that. It's not going to happen in your first year. It's going to take a bit to build. But I think some people start out with that, and then but if they're a hard worker, if they're a true entrepreneur, then I think most people get into it because you can make good money if you manage your money properly. If you do all the systems properly, it can be good and lucrative. But just like every other agent, I've made all kinds of phenomenal mistakes. And
I hope we get into some of those, and also, I mean, the fact that I don't want it to go overlooked, like that you have five kids as well. I mean, I think we get into that at some point because that's. I mean, I have 3, and it's, I don't know. Anyway.
You want a couple? I probably have some that look like
we could probably trade. Yeah.
No, see, you know what?
Oh, not a trade?
No, yours are young. Like, I'm at the tail end.
Yeah, true.
Like,
you sure you don't want to start all over?
Is a freshman in high school. Nope, I'm good.
Okay, all right.
I'm good.
Hey, as long as they can babysit.
There you go.
Bring them on. I'll pay their food bills.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you get into real estate, and for anyone who doesn't know, we interviewed Rich Barker, another very successful agent here at our brokerage, back in like episode 4. So you can go hear that. You jump onto the Barker team. Tell me how you go about, with your schedule and everything else, building a business inside of his team that started to give you a taste of success.
I mean, hands down. I actually started not with the intent of joining his team. I had 2 other friends that went to school with me, and we were going to be our own team. And
a team of 3 rookies. That sounds good.
and my favorite saying is Edie Nicholas said to me, "You guys don't even know what you don't know." Yep. And I use that all the time now. And it was horrible. I think it lasted a month. And so I went to Rich and just said, hey, I live in Fountain Hills. It just makes sense, and so he said, yeah, absolutely, come on board. And so grateful. Like, he, totally changed my trajectory. I could have gotten where I am on my own. It would have taken me 4 years more, I feel. I think every new agent should just be a part of a team, as long as it's, an efficiently run one. So, but I totally squirreled. What was it?
No, so like how did you become successful? I mean, what did you commit to in order to become successful?
When I started on his team, he didn't have a team leader. It was him. He had a lead buyer's agent. He had he had a lead buyer's agent, Pam, who totally helped me. We had a transaction coordinator and a couple other people, and that was it. And but I could do open houses, and so that was it. I didn't do a lot of lead gen. I did 4 open houses a week for 18 months straight. I took 2 of my kids on an Easter Sunday to show a house, and then went to Easter dinner and was writing a contract. I showed houses on New Year's Eve. I've shown houses on Christmas Day. I committed to, I had enough money for a year and a half, for us to live, I thought. So this is the thing. That year and a half turned into more like 9 months. Okay. So, because then kids break arms, and teenagers apparently crash cars, and so expenses that I didn't.
Don't you want one, Joe?
No. I'm so excited, guys. I can't wait.
Are you?
No kids yet.
Again, I got one that looks like you too, I'm sure. Yeah. So that dwindled. So I always tell everyone, make sure you have a year and a half, because you probably don't. But and so I just had to. I'm married to a teacher. So that paycheck was nothing. Literally, it was $700 every 2 weeks, right? And we had great health insurance, thank God. but you can't have a family of 5 on that. So it was out of necessity. My why was really relevant from day one. And I was good at open houses. In hindsight, I wish I had done 2 or 3 other lead gen. I did. We had sign calls. This was before internet was free on the phone. So Pam and I did really well at converting sign calls. But really, those were my only 2. So I did them at the highest level possible. And Rich said it to me once, if you're going to do an open house, do it at full force. Otherwise, that's $10,000. So if you're going to just put one open house sign in front, why even do it? Why not do the whole 7 steps?
How important is it, in your opinion, for agents listening right now to really focus in and narrow their focus on just a handful, 1 or 2 or 3 types of lead generation?
Oh my gosh, it's so important. I have a new agent on my team right now that's phenomenal, and I've seen this happen with several of my agents where you then watch some YouTube video or you see something else and you kind of then squirrel, like, oh, I should do that too. Oh, I should do that too. And then the problem is that you're not, now we're overwhelmed. Well, should I be doing this, or should I be doing this, or should I do this, or should I? And then you start to, kind of squirrel out. We're really big on tracking our numbers. And by tracking our numbers, we realized that, Andrew on my team, who is like a rock star kid, he did 12 his first year on our team. I had him doing loads and loads of open houses because I thought that's what he should do. But I didn't look at his background, the 10 years in Yelp sales and being on the phone. And we started doing calls, and his conversion rate on calls is 10 times greater than an open house. So we were putting him in the wrong spot. So several things, but then tracking your input and output on those things is even more key, because doing them is one thing, but then, I don't think we actually track it.
Well, and very perceptive, and I commend you for being able to recognize that. And you can't do that unless you're tracking. But then to make a move and put someone on the right seat in the bus where they can succeed is super important. I kind of want to dive into this open house thing, like. What makes you so good at open houses? And I mean, by what you just said, it's a commitment that even up till now is something that you do at a really high level. So can you talk to us a little bit about your open house strategy?
Yeah, like even before, just when I'm in it.
I mean, whatever you want to share, like anything that maybe someone could take action on and have a successful or more successful open house.
Right. If it's not in an area that I know, I make sure to drive around. I make sure to see, and this is our team, you need to see 10 other houses. It's tougher now in this market, but before it was, I want you to see 10 other houses around it. I also print up what's called a lookbook. Okay. So we had a house that was a 2-story, but when you drove up, it looked like it was a 1-story. And so it was built into a hill. So everybody would walk in. The very first open house I did, they go, oh, I thought it was a 1-story, and it was $1 million house. So the next week, I had a book of all homes in that price range in that area that were single story. Yeah, this one isn't, but hey, I got this one and this one. What are you looking for? But you have to know, because the stats are this. Only 9% of the people that walk into an open house actually buy that house. So the reality is this. You're not trying to sell that house. Even if it's your listing, yes, you want to sell that house. However, I kind of say you really want to get them knowing that there's only a 9% chance, there's an 81% chance that there's another house that will work. You have to know your inventory. So when they walk in, I'm like, what are you looking for? And I already now know that this house isn't going to work for them, but I know 6 others that will. And I've got them in my book, or I'm pulling them up on the MLS in my computer, So it's the research before that I think agents don't do. If you don't know that area, what's the school districts? How many golf courses? Where are the grocery stores? What are the things that drive people to that area? Door knock it and ask them why they live there. Why? How long have you lived here? 10 years. Wow. Why? Oh, it's a great neighborhood. I mean, so if somebody walks in, you can go, listen, everyone on the street I've talked to, they don't leave. So it's a great place to live, or whatever. But, it's that research before that I think gets missed.
I think that's right on. Like, the pre-work is what makes the open house and the relationship thereafter Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned, you did 4, was it 4 per week?
Oh, yeah.
Every week?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 1 to 4 without fail. Unless it was like near a school or something, I might change it, or a church, I'd change it to so if it was near a church across the street, we had a couple of those. We were doing them from 10 to 2, so we were getting all the churchgoers. Coffee and donuts.
Well, I love the commitment to the one thing because it focuses your brain and it allows you to really develop the skills of each of those different strategies.
Yeah.
So I'm sure some people are like, well, what do you do the rest of the week if you're only working open houses on the weekends? Well, you just explained. You prepare. You door knock. You do your research and your diligence. You find out what's going on. And so that when you have that event or 4 events in the same weekend, you're ready for all 4. And, of course, you strategically, to the extent possible, try to stay in the same neighborhood or region of the market so that all that research is overlapping.
Right, yeah. When I started on Rich's team, we were in a buyer's market. And so it was easy for me to live in, he would have a couple of vacant houses and I just lived in them. The reality is this, they are not coming and knocking on my door and saying, I want to buy a house. So, if I'm going to sit here and do note cards or whatever, why not just do it in a house, Yeah, so I have to dress up. Okay, not my favorite thing to do. Everybody knows,
we appreciate you dressed up for us.
I brought an outfit, that's the only way they're going to come. They're not knocking on my front door, and they're not coming to the office, and they're not, so why not? What else do you have to do?
Yeah. Well, I think also, it never ceases to amaze me how much of success is predicated on simply listening, right? Like in your example of the house that so many people were coming in expecting it to be a single-story home. How many agents out there, I'm willing to bet, probably like 98% wouldn't even pick up on the fact that, what they want is this. I better give them what they want next time I'm here. And you were perceptive enough to listen and then take action on that and do that. And no doubt in my mind, that's one reason why you're really successful. So that's the pre-work. Is there anything any tips that you'd share in an open house that, besides just listening, that could help someone level up their strategy there?
Yeah, I'll tell you what changed my game from 12 my first year to 27 my second was a script that Kathy Brogan. So Kathy, she was our team lead here, and then she went and she joined Rich's team, and she became his team lead. And she brought us in this script that basically was, asking them loads of, questions. It's tough for salespeople. It's tough for me to not talk. We want to brag. We want to tell you why you should work with us because we're so awesome. And so it's really hard. So it was a great script that just asked more questions, more of why, what would that do for you? Tell me more, what would have to happen to make that change? And the biggest part of it was, have you ever sat down with an agent and done a private buyer's consultation? And people go, no, what's that? No, Let me tell you, this is just 30 minutes where I sit down with a buyer and we go over your goals, what your timelines are, everything about this home purchase that's of value to you, that's important. And let's get it all down on paper and really talk about, what we need to do to make this work. And I promise you that 30-minute, conversation that we're going to have is going to save you hours of time and quite possibly a lot of money, too. Mm. Would something like that be of interest to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Who's going to say no, right? And so just that phrase of that is, what doubled my appointments.
What is the risk that an agent is running if they're not having a consultation with their buyers before they begin to work together and start looking at houses together?
Oh my gosh, I did it. My very first one. It was like it was my son's girlfriend's parents, and I was brand new agent. I started with Rich in October, and this was like October, 10th. Like it was right there. And we're totally approved. They just moved out here from Chicago. I make $200,000 a year. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to go through Navy Federal Credit Union, blah, blah, blah. I want to see this house. Okay, let's go.
Right.
Right. I mean, I didn't jog. I ran, and we went and I showed them, and it was $500,000. So, that was a lot. Super excited. They loved it. Can we go back again? I want to show my mom tonight. Yep. Okay. Take away time from the kids. Let's go. Let's look at it. Right. Yeah, we want to write an offer. Okay, and I go back to the office. Okay, what do I do? I want to write an offer. Well, we need their pre-approval. Okay, so hey, call, get your pre-approval. Didn't ask any questions. He's 1099. Guy's not getting anything, right? He's not getting a loan he's changed jobs, whole company, like same career path, but I didn't ask the questions. So I wasted their time, got them all excited about it, wasted my time, got me all excited about it, and I lost a potential client down the road, I certainly didn't get any referrals off of that. Actually, that's not true. Since I've sold a couple of their kids' houses, but.
Well, that's really what I want agents to hear is this isn't just about you giving your sales pitch, and the consultation is not the opportunity for you to just get them to sign a contract. That is part of it. It's really more about educating them on the process, setting the right expectations, and ensuring that you're not wasting anybody's time moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's the key is people get super excited and one of our agents on the team did a consult. They all do consults, and they did a lot of stuff. The agent or the buyer just kind of said, look, I need to take a break, and came back a month later, and I said, sit down with them again, do another one, reset their expectations on this market. I think the key is, I'm a big believer, knowledge is power, right? And so not only do you as the agent get knowledge in these consults, but you should be imparting some knowledge, on to your clients. This is what the market's doing. This is what, when it was a buyer's market, I used to say to them, listen, last year my numbers were, I got 8.6% off of the list price for all my clients on average throughout the whole year. So when we go and look at something, hey, we could probably offer 10% less, and we're going to come in, it's $400,000. Let's offer $350,000. We'll come in around $460,000, $470,000, and I was getting it. Now it's like, listen, if you like the house, they're going for 112% over ask, and I'm not even making this number up. So, I'm not sending you stuff that's way overpriced. I'm sending you stuff that's way under because you're only approved up to 400. I'm not even sending you 400,000.
Right.
Like, having that expectation, then they're not going to come back on you upset, if you explain to them. And I think the biggest complaint I hear from people is I fired my last agent because he didn't listen to me. He probably listened to you, but you probably didn't know the market that you were in, and he didn't explain it to you.
Yeah.
So
I think setting expectations, it's not something that's necessarily new, and yet it's something that experienced, successful agents overlook, and it's something that we've constantly got to be revisiting. How are we setting, resetting, adjusting? I think it's brilliant that you have one of your agents reset the expectations, even though it was a change of 4 weeks? Because even in those 4 weeks, market conditions do change, right? And maybe certain things in the team have adjusted and changed. And it's important to enter into those relationships, recognizing this isn't just a transaction now. This is my business well into the future. And how am I managing that relationship with care? So bring us into like what you've built now, because clearly we are in a different market than sitting open houses.
That's tough.
I mean, the same open house 4 days in a row. I don't know if across our 400 agents here, if I've heard of 4 straight open houses, right? So like as you kind of look ahead into your business, what are you expecting to have to adjust to take that next level of growth?
Yeah, we realized quickly. I mean, we do calls, we do lots of other lead gen online stuff. We're doing really well with our online leads because we have a really good follow-up plan. I think that's the key too. If I were to finish out the open houses is the follow-up. You could do an open house and then you get all these lead sheets and then do nothing with it, so but we're changing. We're going to have to. And one of the new things we're looking at that I'm really excited about is I saw Gary Keller had interviewed a gal. She changed. She was very good in one market center. I want to say Kansas. I can't remember. And then moved to like Vegas or something. Or maybe it's vice versa. And she was like, I don't know anyone, but she had to. Her husband, his husband's job. So she started doing, this is pre-COVID, she started doing these great buyer, and this is when it was, you wanted buyers, she started doing first-time home buyer seminars at a bar or a pub You get 2 drinks, you come, it's free, you sit, you listen. She was doing, 10 to 12 people each time, and, she was converting like 1 on each time she was doing it. And then COVID hit. So then what? So then she started doing it online. And now she's doing 2 a week, and she's got 40, 50 people doing them.
Wow.
So, and she's like, I've basically replaced my open houses. So I just brought somebody on my team that actually is semi-retired and owned a business, sold her business, and she's going to help us. We're going to really start, doing that. But like Dave and I were talking earlier, you start any of these things, you have to have it really laid out. Otherwise, you do one and there's no consistency. Like we've got to really sit down and lay it out, because I've been wanting to do this for 4 months, but I haven't had the people in place, the things in place, and all that. So it's taking me longer, but I'm okay with that because I'm going to do it just like the open houses at full force at a high level. And if it takes me longer, it takes me longer. But that's our plan is I might be doing 3 or 4 of those, and we'll do seller seminars and partnering with some lenders to give us some collateral and things like that. So again, it's just education. Real estate is education. We're just educating people, and the people that I want to work with are people that, trust what I know and are just fun, and, that's, you just got to be genuine. And that's what I like about Keller Williams. Somebody asked the other day, would you ever leave? I don't think I ever would. I don't like change, but even that, it's the come from contribution. The amount of people like Martha Andrews and Rich Barker and all these people that have helped and willingly help, and I just want to pay it forward now, right? So that's what we do. But that's you can't beat that. You don't hear about that at every other brokerage, I know there are some, but
yeah, that's fantastic. Bring us in to a little bit just about balancing life. I know that soon you're probably going to be starting a podcast kind of around this subject.
Yeah, we taught. Yeah,
and what's it like being a mom to 5 kids and running such a successful business and really, I mean, a team mom to several real estate agents too.
Right.
I mean, what's that dynamic like, and what are you finding works well, and maybe where do you fall down?
I'll tell you, my first coach said to me, and she was a bold coach actually, Cheryl Marlowe. She's out of New Mexico. She said, in order to get your family to buy into this, right, you have to, with every closing, have some sort of a reward, right? So she said, you have a team, but you also have you do a deal, you give a bottle of wine to your title rep, you give a bottle of wine to your lender. But what about the family that didn't get to see you, So every deal that I did, the kids got to go out to dinner, which for a family of 7 is very expensive.
That's a big deal. Yeah, you better have a down payment on a house for that.
So, it was so excited that we could do something other than pizza, and so that was the win. So then it got to a point where the kids were so excited that it was like, okay, go to your open house, go see your mom, and when I'd come home, did you sell it? Are we going out to dinner tonight? Like, I had to teach them the concept of, well, we have to wait until things close,
right.
Right. But that really helped. So the kids really bought into it because even for them, there was a reward. Then it got to, I was having 2 or 3 in the same week, and I'm like, all right, we need to change this up. So then it was, okay, if I do more than I think it was like more than $500,000, then we get to go to King's Fish House because I, of course, created children that like lobster. So, not McDonald's.
Good taste.
Yeah. I know. Oh, so then we had to kind of change it up a little bit, so it's kind of fallen by the wayside now because they don't really want to hang out with me even for dinner. So, I
love the general idea, though, of kind of engaging them in the process. And
right.
and it's one support. It's one team, one fight, so to speak.
Right.
And talk about accountability for you.
Right.
Right. The last thing you're going to do is, drop the ball or go easy on yourself, knowing that you're going to have to face those kids when you come home.
Yeah.
I imagine that gives you a little more drive when you're finding those activities that you would love not to do.
Right. Yeah.
I think it is a great practice. We had to implement something very similar in our life and marriage. It was for every investment property, we were either buying a vacation home or my wife could get a designer piece of clothing.
Wow.
So same concept.
Yeah.
It was like, well, if you're going to go do this and take time away, like what's in it for us, me,
right?
Right? And I think that's a great concept. Nicci, what would you say? What's your real estate superpower?
My real estate superpower.
What has set you apart? Because I mean, we're here locally. We're in a market with almost 100,000 real estate agents. It's insane.
It is absolutely.
The majority of those do no business.
Right.
The majority will be out of business 12 months from now, from when we're recording this. What has set you apart and made you successful? What do you think you are best at?
Well, I'll tell you, when early on, one of my clients that I now sold them their house, they were in their 70s, and they were like, this is our dream home. She was crying, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And we're now friends still. We still go out and stuff. And he said to me once, I think I asked him, well, why did you pick me? He goes, I went into your open house, same house. I went into that 3 weeks in a row, and you were never pushy. You were never salesy. You were truly genuine. And you remembered us. I didn't have to retell you where I lived. I didn't have to retell you. I walked in and you went, oh, hey, it's the Elkins from Aspen. That's where they live. And I think that's it, because I think too many salespeople, and I see a lot of new agents, they get a little too, they know a lot, they do the research, and then they try to push it on people. And I didn't. It was just kind of like, come in, let's sit down, let's have a conversation. Yeah, I get this house doesn't work for you, but tell me what your dream house looks like. When you walk in, what does it have? And I genuinely care about it. It's not just a lot of BS.
Yeah. That's that humanness that we talk about in sales, is you can be just the salesperson, but if you add that element and if you truly sincerely have that human connection, that's what's going to separate you from the herd, and that's what's going to separate you from technology in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Right? That's the relationship and the kind of care that people expect and want in their experience through the home buying or selling process.
Yeah.
Especially because it can get emotional at times. It's not always a simple transaction.
Oh my gosh, don't I know it? I'm closing on my house maybe next week, but we're still negotiating the Binzer. So I mean, I have to say, I always thought I was empathetic, and I've bought and sold homes, before. It's so funny. My clients are so stressed out, and I'm like, what are you stressed out about? This is easy. And we forget, yes, we do this. I do 40 a year. I do 50 a year. I do 100 a year. This is nothing. And then this person does one every 10 years. It is stressful. And my empathy, I will say, I think has diminished. So this is probably God's way of putting in front of me a little bit of a reality check. What I'm going through right now is just insane.
What you're describing right now, our friend and world-class consultant Aaron Hodson says he believes it should be a requirement, and he may have even had it as a requirement in his brokerages that he ran, that his agents went through their own transactions I think he throws out 5 years. Every 5 years you have to go through a transaction, which I don't know how you really mandate that, but I mean, but regardless, it's about this empathy piece and remembering that this is a stressful process.
Yeah, it really is. And my last one was just so fluid and easy. And this one, my purchase was easy, but my sale has been really difficult because I got somebody that came in ridiculously high and now wants the sun, the moon, the stars, and it's kind of crazy. And busy on top of it and stuff. Last time I wasn't quite as busy. It just timing and stuff. But yeah, I agree. I have met so many 20-somethings that haven't bought a home, yet they're realtors. And I kind of just go, well, okay.
Right.
Great response.
Yeah.
Okay.
How can you be genuine? Because I think the key piece of real estate and a good agent, and all the good agents that I know, they are genuine. And how can you be genuine and understanding if you haven't lived through it? I kind of buy into it, but.
Nicci, earlier in the show you mentioned failure, and I'm curious to circle back to that. What's one of the biggest lessons you had to learn the hard way, and how has that made you a better business person today?
I'll tell you, and I credit David all the time. So I did my taxes, and he handed it across the table and said $27,000, and I just about threw up. I was going to say something else, but we're trying to be PG here. Trying to not be bleeped. And I didn't have, I wasn't managing my money at all. I was making loads of money. I left the team. I became a solo agent, and I was making double what I was making. And before I was able to manage my taxes, they were, $5,000, $7,000. It wasn't a big deal. I wasn't doing quarterlies. I was just a salesperson. I wasn't a business person. And I think that's the key that I've learned over the last 3 years is there's a difference between a salesperson and a business person in real estate. Just there is. And I wasn't an entrepreneur. I wasn't a real estate. And I've owned businesses. Like I knew this, but it just kind of all of a sudden hit me. And I just went, paid it. Didn't have the money actually to pay it. Had to go on payment plans, scared to death, about that. And so David, made our team do Profit First and set up, which is an amazing book, and set up our PLCs if we didn't have them. Well, I had that, but wasn't running my books properly, so we did that. I think you start making all this money, you buy the nice cars, you start taking the kids on vacations, and then tax time comes, and you're paying all your bills, and then what? When you get handed that. And I'm very, very transparent about that. I'm making our team, every new person that comes in, this is your homework, and we're going to talk about it, and every week I want you to read a chapter because, and Jacqueline Grant, she's on my team, we say it all the time, woulda, shoulda, coulda. But that was huge. And then I think the other one is not having enough lead sources. I was at a high level of open houses. That kind of shut down in a matter of months, pretty quick. We're lucky. My friends in Colorado as an agent, they were shut down. They couldn't even do open houses. Yeah. They couldn't even show homes. My sister was trying to sell her home. She just had to take it off the market. You could buy a house in Colorado if you wanted to, but you had to just basically buy it sight unseen, and you could go in and see it. I think on inspection day, but they really were not allowed to do anything.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the old three-legged stool analogy. Mm-hmm. Like, what are the other legs? If one's going to be taken out, like, you need something to stabilize on. And so it's really the flip side of not having this shotgun mentality when it comes to lead gen, but also not being so focused on only one thing that if it does shut down, right? I mean, I don't expect there to be another pandemic. Knock on particle board. But having something else that you can lean into as a protective measure. I mean, it's almost like an investment strategy. You need to always be measuring the downside risk and have an out and escape, a back door, so to speak. And I would say that, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing those things as far as failure is concerned. I also think that it's been evident throughout this show that one of your other superpowers is question-based listening. And just at different times you've just shared, like, it is the questions we ask that lead to our understanding, and when there's clarity is power, and that's how we make big leaps and bounds in our connection with other humans. So I think we could go on for another 2 or 3 episodes, and yet I want to transition us into the last segment of our show, which is 3, 2, 1 action. Okay. It's the same 3 questions. Okay. 3, 2, 1 action. Same 3 questions we ask every single guest. Joe, question number 1.
Here we go. All right, Nicci, question number 1 is, who is the one person who's had the biggest impact on your business and why?
Wow, just one?
Just one.
Just one. I have to say Rich Barker. I was on his team for 4 years. I give him accolades all the time. I loved him. I loved being on his team. It just kind of was at a time for me to leave. And even then, it took me a year to do it. But even right now, I called him the other day with help, and he's just always there to just help. He genuinely wants people to succeed, and
That I think is one of my favorite 15 seconds of this podcast, and I'll tell you why. Here we have 2 enormously successful agents inside of our brokerage, and the culture in that last 15 seconds is just unbelievable. This is a competitive industry, and that doesn't mean that we can't collaborate. And I don't talk about our brokerage a lot on this podcast, but I think it's important to note that that is how you build big businesses. It's recognizing that we all go further, faster together. And together we rise. A rising tide raises all ships that don't have holes in them. And so it's figuring out how to stabilize and get up. So I know that was a rabbit trail from our 3, 2, 1 action, but like I just really appreciate that. And I don't think we're gonna ever let Rich hear that because his head doesn't need to get any bigger. Love you, Rich. Question number 2: what is the single most influential book in your business?
Wow, I'm going to say Profit First. Hands down, it literally, and if you look at it, right, everything is, that didn't just change my business, that changed my children's life, right? So that's super powerful, right? Oh, I might even get a little choked up. Yeah, because, so I got a call the other day, hey, it's time to do your quarterlies. Okay. And he's like, wow, you've got an extra $7,000 in your tax account, which I don't even look at because it's in a whole different bank and it's a whole, and he's like, so I just need you to fill this out and we're good. I'm like, sweet. He's like, so I'm going to give you some money. So it's like bonus time. So I love tax time now because it's bonus time.
Talk about reversing the script.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right. So yeah, definitely. And I think that, I am buying right now, like my dream house, and there is no way I would have ever done this had I not set up my financial success and opened an office and all that kind of stuff. So hands down, that one. And I make everyone read it. I bought a case. So my friend owns an RV shop. I'm like, here, you need to read. Like everybody that owns their own business. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. So many do. I am a bit of a reader, but that one changed my life and succinctly my kids. What I'll be able to do for them.
That's awesome.
I love it. All right, third and final question, Nicci.
Okay.
This is the All In podcast, of course, where we encourage our listeners to go out there and take the concepts that we've talked about today and put them into action. Okay. So what's the one bit of advice you have for our listeners today to go do right now today to begin moving the needle forward in their business?
Go do something that is uncomfortable and get comfortable with the uncomfortable. I hated scripts. I mean, I would come in the morning and my heart would palpitate, and we did them 4 mornings a week. And I'm going to tell you that changed my business. It just changed it. I did that, and I went from the 12 to the 27 with that one script. I then went to 57 or something like that the third year, consistent scripts. So for me, that was it. And I just believe that whatever you're uncomfortable with. So I'm not great with phones. My guy, Andrew, who is phenomenal and does 200 to 250 dials a week, we're now every Saturday morning, if we're not doing open houses, we're doing calls. He's forcing me to do it, and he's making me better. I hate it. Like, I even say calls, and I go, So I think that's it. You have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. You didn't do it for a reason, but you probably are really good at it. You just don't know.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice, and we've talked about it before on this show. Sometimes it's even a question when someone is trying to take that next step. So what do you hate doing the most? Perfect. Go out and do that for 90 days.
Right.
And then everything else in your business gets easy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you hate phone calls and you go out and you pound the phones for 90 days, you come back, you're going to say, David, everything else is easy.
Yeah.
Right? That's a great piece of advice. Nicci, if people want to connect with you, find more of, content, anything like that, where can they find you?
Hiding under a rock. No, we have our website, the Violette Group. I have to say it's completely in shambles. My son is rebuilding it, but, I'm there. I'm on Facebook, the Violette Group. I'm pretty good at my DMs, I have to say. I'm not a tweeter. I can't do it. Like, I signed up for it, and now I lost my login and password. So, we're on Instagram, too. We're really big there. So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I'm nviolette, Violette, @kw.com.
That's awesome.
Super easy to get a hold of.
We'll link it all up in the show notes,
Nice.
and I'll just say I'm proud of you for the action that you've taken
Thanks.
in your business and life, and I'm proud to be in business with you. It's fortunate, and thank you for joining us, investing some time.
Thanks. Likewise, you guys are awesome. I've been here seven years now. This is the top-notch leadership team that we've had.
A lifer.
Yeah, I am a lifer. I'm a lifer.
It's good.
So.
It's good. Joe, you want to take us out?
Well, I'll just reiterate what David said. Thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom today, Nicci. We really appreciate you. For all our listeners, go out there, take that advice, go get uncomfortable. You know exactly what that thing is, and always keep in mind, go play all in. Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the All In Podcast. We want to invite you to find all of today's resources from our show page at aipodcast.co. We also ask that you take just 1 minute to leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. This is how we grow and how we're able to bring you the best content each and every week. Now go play all in.